The signature program for me was the opportunity to actually invest time in development, which we talk about, but is really quite challenging to do in a corporate environment. Doing that through meeting the diversity of people on the program and the diversity of thought that I was exposed to. It has the potential to be life-changing if you are open to that challenge. So I think if you're on it for the right reasons, in your own development, where it's at that stage where you need to sort of push yourself and challenge yourself, you can get a great deal from it. Yeah, there was one for me at the risk of breaching Chatham House rule. It was one of the speakers, it was one of the early speakers who provoked me in a constructive way very early in the program to think about things through a different filter, and so that carried through the whole program and left me with a very strong desire to focus on that issue, which was about youth justice, and it was also about the role that the media plays in amplifying some challenges in our society. So that was like session 2 and stuck with me through the whole program. I think it's actually about activating that asset. So it's a great asset that I think is easy to let lie dormant, but for me, networking is not a dirty word. It can be a constructive thing. It's about creating value through others that have got similar passions and interests. I think you can be reassured that people that are in the alumni are probably similarly aligned to yourselves, and it's about thinking about that as a positive network that you can access in Perth, not in a boys clubby kind of way, but actually use it for good. So for me, it's a I think underutilised asset by a lot of the people involved. So I'm encouraging others to really get involved in it and share. I want to encourage the alumni to encourage more people to do the program. I think it's important that we maintain this level of alumni across Perth. If I think about the group that I went through with, now so many of those people have continued their careers and grown in influence and seniority, so it's important to make sure we keep feeding the alumni. And so that's the thing I want to try and make sure I can also contribute to. I also just think it's something really important for the state. So there's lots of networks that exist across the state that may not necessarily be about improving our civil society. I think this can be one, so we should use that to the best of its ability. The sign downstairs. We acknowledged that as an organisation we probably hadn't been doing enough about Indigenous engagement. We had our first welcome to the country, or acknowledgement of wasn't welcome to the country at the senior leadership function. But after that, our managing director was very keen for us to do more. And so for us, it was one of the ways was by actually having a permanent record and acknowledgement of the country in the foyer. Look, I think for me that was one of the things that I hadn't had the fortunate experience to be part of, but understanding more about Indigenous culture and engagement and starting to realise how important it was. So, again, some of this stuff that you get experienced you can't unlearn. So for me, it doesn't mean that you were necessarily a bad person, but if and people don't like being labelled as ignorant, but if you're ignorant and you become less ignorant, then it's important that you use that knowledge for good. So for me, it's that prompting that you can't unlearn something. So when you do learn, you think, well, you've got to do something different. So the reason we've got that in the foyer, and the reason we wanted to acknowledge the traditional owners is because it's important that we do so. And we weren't doing it, so we need to do something about it. When I was made aware of it, Michael McNulty shared the news with me, so the first thing that happened was my imposter syndrome kicked in. And I was like, well, clearly there's other people that do, far more worthy of recognition. But I reflected upon that overnight and then realised, look, for whatever the reason is that I've been fortunate enough to be recognised for this, it's an opportunity to promote the importance of, as a fellow of the Leadership WA, of what you can and should, I think, be doing, encouraging others to make sure they don't miss the opportunity. Because I do a lot of things that are really interesting for me and I think are really worthwhile, and there might be a benefit, but I also do it because I think intrinsically it's the right thing to do. And if that means I get called something like that's distinguished, that's great. I would never think of myself as a distinguished fellow, but I'm happy to wear that mantle if it means that I can promote and showcase the importance of serving our community.